So the Shema, which I think we can safely say is the foundational text, the foundational prayer of Judaism. This is the original and the oldest prayer that we have. Perhaps for a pub quiz question, I would ask, what is the second oldest question that we have? You can put it in the chat, because a lot of people need to put in the chat, and at the end, after I've spoken about the Shema, I will see who's got the closest answer. But the oldest prayer is that of the Shema. There is a biblical mitzvah. The Torah tells us to say it twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. People say it either at Mariv or before going to bed at night. And on Shabbat morning, we say it at around 10 o'clock. It is such an important prayer that, as opposed to the Amidah, if King Charles III was to walk into shul and tap you on the shoulder, you can't respond if you're saying the Shema. Now, if our wardens have done their job, they'll keep the doors closed during Shema so the king wouldn't get in, so you wouldn't face that problem. But saying the Shema is so important. You're in such close connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Hashem, declaring his unity, that one cannot interrupt the Shema, certainly not in the middle of the paragraph, each of the paragraphs. But what does the word Shema mean? Now, historically, we were always told the word Shema means, Shema Yisrael means, hear, O Israel. And here we have Richard Franklin's mother of blessed memory to thank, because she taught Rabbi Sachs, she was a speech therapist, and she taught Rabbi Sachs that the word Shema doesn't mean to hear, but means to listen. And on that, Rabbi Sachs shares the following thought, which is, I found mind-blowing, and I'm excited to share it with you. Rabbi Sachs says that one of the strangest sayings of the rabbis is a Mishnah as follows. If a person is taking a walk while reciting Mishnaic teachings and interrupts their studies to say, how beautiful is that tree, or how fine is that field, it is as if they've committed a mortal sin. It is not that Judaism does not wish us to enjoy the beauties of nature. In fact, we know that in the prayer book, and we might get there in a future series, there are special blessings to be said on seeing trees in blossom. But rather the sin is that such a person abandons the world of sound, Mishnah, in favor of the world of sight. Listening is an art, a skill, a religious discipline, the deepest reflex of the human spirit. One who truly listens can sometimes hear, beneath the noise of the world, the deep speech of the universe, the song creation sings to its creator. In the silence of the midbar, the desert, the Israelites were able to hear the word davar, and one trained in the art of listening can hear not only the voice of God, but also the silent cry of the lonely, the distressed, the afflicted, the poor, the needy, the neglected, the unheard. For speech is the most personal of all gestures, and listening the most human, and at the same time, the most divine of all gifts. God listens and asks us to listen. That is why the greatest of all commands, the first words that many learn as children, the last words spoken by Jewish martyrs as they went to their deaths, words engraved on the Jewish soul are Shema Yisrael, listen, O Israel. And now too, we understand why, as we say those words, we cover our eyes, to shut out, if only for a moment, the world of sight, so that we can more fully enter the world of sound, the world not of creation, but of revelation, not of God's work, but of his word, the world we cannot see, but if we create an open, attentive silence in the soul, we can hear. And with those words of Rabbi Sachs, I hand you back to the Rebbe.
Kind of feel like we need to, stop and think about what he said, because it's so beautiful the way he speaks. So coming back to the actual text of the Shema, I wanted to share something actually that so Jacob was estranged from his son Joseph. Basically, he thought Joseph had been killed. The brothers had come back and said, "Oh, I'm really sorry to say, but our dear brother Joseph was killed." And Jacob was extremely sad at that point. And for 22 years, as far as he knew, Joseph was dead. And then the moment came where they told him Joseph was alive and he finally was going to meet him. And just at that moment when they were meeting, Jacob said, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Jacob, so this is like when we talk about the earliest prayer, that was when Jacob said Shema Yisrael. And it makes me think about the hostages because there was a father, and I don't remember which father it was, who when his son came home after 2 years and he didn't know if he was going to see him alive, and you see them, you see him walking towards him, he says out loud, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. He finally got to see his son. And I think about how we've been saying this for so many years, and thank God we're able to see somebody say it with real happiness. So it is a prayer that sticks with us and stays with us. So Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. We're just going to go through the three different the three different chapters, as it were, of the Shema, and I wanted to sort of think about it in terms of our life. So if you ever wanted, so the word Shema Yisrael, as the rabbi said so nicely, is listen. And how do you listen well? You know, when you're really trying to concentrate and hear something and you can't hear because everybody's talking or things are happening or they're moving, you do this because you're just trying to concentrate. So one of the reasons we cover our eyes is so that we can stop doing all the other things and concentrate. Hashem is one. And what does it mean to say Hashem is one? It means that there are no other forces. It's not my money that's going to get me somewhere. It's not my connections with this important person that's going to get me somewhere. It's not my fame. It's Hashem. Whatever happens in this whole world, it's all from one source. That's what we're saying. And that is our Jewish people mission statement. That's why we say it. So that's one verse. And then we say quietly what the angels say. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuso Le'olam Va'ed. We say it quietly because we're not angels, and angels can say it out loud, but we say it quietly. There's only one time we say it out loud, which is on Yom Kippur, because we're like the angels. We don't eat. We don't, we're not doing all the other physical things. We're just spiritual beings on Yom Kippur. So then we can say Baruch Shem. And then we say Va'ahavta. And Va'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha means, and you should love Hashem, your God. And then we say some really interesting things, but I'm going to ask you first, before we go through what we say, I'm going to ask you, if you want to remember something, let's say you have a meeting, you need to bring something with, what would you do so that you don't forget? What would you, when you're waking up in the morning, what would you give yourself so that you don't forget? You can put your hand up, share something. Anybody? Yeah, Marsha?
Write a note.
Write a note, exactly. So, those sticky notes, you might just have a sticky note next to the door. You might have a sticky note next to your bed. You might have an alarm clock that says, don't forget to take it. So, anytime, or you might put your ring on your other finger. Those kind of things are in order to help you not forget. So our existence, the Jewish people's existence in this world, is basically a massive fight between our soul and our body. Our body just wants to sleep, wants to eat, wants to have a party, wants to do everything my way, doesn't want to think about other people. Our soul wants to be kind and generous and think about people. It's a fight. That's what our life is. Now, in order to remember the soul, and that Hashem is actually, we have a little part of Hashem inside us, Hashem gave us the Torah, which is a whole set of instructions, and each one of those instructions, they refine our soul. But then I forget about the instructions because I'm so busy. I went to work today, I went to school, or I was watching a film, and I was scrolling on my phone. I wasn't really thinking about it, and suddenly, oh my gosh, it was 2 hours, and I didn't realize, and I wasted my life, and I don't want to waste my life. So what if you look at the words of the Shema, which we're going to look at together? Terry, are you happy to read just the first paragraph in English? You're muted. You're muted, Terry.
Yeah. Okay now?
Yes, you're with us. Yeah.
Okay. Listen, Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Any
Yeah.
more?
Yeah, the next one down. Love your God.
Right.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might.
Great. Can you stop there for 1 second? I'd like you all to count how many, while he's talking, how many things they've told us to do in this one paragraph. Okay, carry on.
Teach them.
Yeah.
Teach them to repeatedly to your children and speaking of them when you at home and when you travel and when you lie down and when you rise. Bind them with your hand and with your shawl shall be an emblem between your eyes. Then with them or on your door, your house and gates.
Perfect.
I
Thank you.
apologise for not doing it well.
Okay, no, I know it's not so clear, but you did an excellent job. Thank you so much, Terry.
My pleasure.
So there were lots of things that basically Hashem told us that we need to do to remind ourselves, because life is so busy that we forget. So when you're at home, remember. When you go on your way, remember. When you go to sleep, remember. When you wake up in the morning, remember. Put them on the doorpost, put them on your arms. There's like a whole set of remembrances just to help us remember, who am I and what am I here for? And that's the first paragraph. And then the second paragraph goes into, if you, I'm just going to give you a set of instructions. And I don't know if you've ever had, I mean, please God, you should all be well, etc. But you know, when you go to the doctor and you get medicine, so the medicine comes with a whole list of take it like this and don't take it like that. And this is what's going to happen if you don't take the medicine. If you take two at the same time, or if you overdose, or if you do any of those things, then you might get a stomachache and you might get this and you might get that. So the second paragraph is basically saying, be really careful, because these instructions are so important and so good for you. And it's so important for the whole world. I created the world and I created a system that works for the world. And if you follow the system, then we're going to see on the next page, then the rain will come at the right time and the grass will grow and you'll have your produce and life will be good and things will work. And if you don't do it, then the rain's not going to come. It's not going to work because basically we didn't follow the instructions. So if the doctor says to you, you have to have this medicine and don't have a grapefruit with that medicine, there's a reason they say that, because the grapefruit interacts with it and then it won't work. So Hashem is telling us, follow the instructions, because this is how it's going to work. And if you don't follow the instructions, it's not going to work. It's not, I'm punishing you because you're naughty. It's, then there's a problem. Then you've created a problem because I've given you the instructions and it might not work. If I give you a car and I say, fill it up with petrol, we all know what happens if you fill it up with diesel. So it's the same kind of thing. Hashem gives us instructions. And what you'll also notice is that the second paragraph has that kind of warning. Here's your government health warning. This is how it's going to work. It's going to work well if you follow the instructions, and it's not going to work well if you don't. Now, we all have a question here because there's lots of people who are doing good things, and unfortunately we don't see it working well. So how does that work? If Hashem says if you do all the right things, everything will be fine, and we see difficulty, that's a very big question and it's a hard question. But one of the things that is in the second paragraph is the first paragraph is talking privately. Each one of the instructions is you should do this. Me personally, before I start talking about other people, I need to try and live it myself. But the second paragraph is spoken to the whole of the Jewish people. We are all responsible for each other and we all need to help each other. This is a society that we're supposed to be creating. That's what the Jewish people are there for. And then we have the third paragraph. And the third paragraph talks about tzitzit, which are the blue strings. I mean, they're not the blue strings, they're white strings. But in those days when it talks about it, they also had a blue string, which we don't have nowadays. And the third paragraph it's sort of a continuation of the different things that we're doing to remind ourselves. And actually, if you read the third paragraph, you'll see it says that the fourth line up, it says, here you will be reminded to keep all my commandments. So basically, the whole essence of Shema is like an alarm clock that we have numerous times in our day. We do it in the morning, we do it in the night, and there's also, we have it in the mezuzah. The words of the Shema are in the mezuzah, and the words of the Shema are in the tefillin that the men put on their arms and they put on their head. So we've got this running theme reminding us of, I am a soul, I'm not just a body, I'm here for a higher purpose, and let me remember what my existence is for. And so the last bit tells us about the tzitzit, and these are another sort of layer of a piece of clothing that's going to remind me what I'm doing. And then right at the end, it says, for I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And that reminds us, because some people think, you know what? Yeah, it makes sense that God created the world. I'm sure the world, had to have a creator. It doesn't make sense that it didn't. But maybe he's just not thinking about us anymore nowadays, and he doesn't really deal with people. He created the world and he left it. But when we say about Hashem took us out of Egypt, that was a moment in time where the whole world saw that actually Hashem interacts with human beings and can change nature in order to help one nation that was oppressing another nation, giving us, the Jewish people, an opportunity to leave. So Hashem showed us that he's not just the God in the heavens, he created the world and he leaves us, but he's actually the God of nowadays. And he's with me nowadays, and he listens and he can interact with us in all spheres, not just in nature or what he did many years ago.